is happening? Judas Priest will perform their only live show in 2023 at the first ever Power Trip Festival, together with Iron Maiden, Metallica, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, and Tool.
This is gonna be cool.
And while this now officially makes Power Trip the most anticipated classic heavy metal event of the year, the main question it raises is with which show will Judas Priest perform at it, as their 50 Heavy Metal Years tour is officially over and their new album endeavour, Metal Masters, is not scheduled to start until well into 2024. So let's do what we love doing the most: speculate. First of all, for those who don't know what's going on, Ozzy Osbourne, who was scheduled to perform at the massive Power Trip Festival this October in California, had to pull out of the bill because, as he said himself, his body is simply not ready for this.
So you have a more stable life now?
No.
And here I just wanted to say that I very much respect and I'm actually very much relieved by this decision of his. As much as I wanted to see the Prince of Darkness up on the stage again, from the footage of him that I've seen from the last couple of months, I simply could not understand how on earth he was ready to pull off a proper heavy metal gig. Because one thing is performing a couple of songs during a halftime show, and the other is electrifying thousands of heavy metal fans who, let's be honest here, paid quite a substantial amount of money.
Hello there.
How are you?
Fine.
At a massive rock and metal festival. And the last thing I actually wanted to see is Ozzy doing a barely move, stand in one place and lip sync show, because let's be honest here, this is not a loud comeback I and all the other Ozzy Osbourne fans all around the world have been eagerly anticipating for years. And so the biggest question in the world of metal for roughly 24 hours was who would be able to fit the bill and replace Ozzy Osbourne at the Power Trip Festival.
All right, here's an opportunity to be creative.
And so now it is official. Just as we cried out loud in our previous video, Iron Maiden, Metallica, and the rest of the bands will be joined by nobody else but the legendary Judas Priest this October in California. And here, right away, I just wanted to point out that, in my opinion, this is the best possible choice the festival organizers could have made. And I'm not just saying this because everyone knows that I've been advocating for Iron Maiden and Judas Priest to perform together for a long time now.
Yes, that's true.
But because, yes, although it is true that there are a lot of other huge bands who would love to perform at the Power Trip Festival, including of course Kiss and Aerosmith, who are in the middle of their supposedly goodbye runs right now, and I'm sure would be gladly making a stop in India, California in October. But at the same time, there's no other band on this planet who could fit and balance out the bill better than the boys who co-forged heavy metal together with Ozzy Osbourne and his legendary bandmates in the Midlands back in the early 70s. And so now let's be honest here, this is the strongest classic heavy metal bill you can possibly gather together, although if we're being very honest, looking at the schedule, I gotta say that it would make a little bit more sense for me if Iron Maiden and Judas Priest would perform on one night and Guns N' Roses and AC/DC on the other one. Although at the same time, this might actually be done on purpose to balance out both of those days.
Exactly.
And also one more thing. And I know that you might actually hate me for that. So don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Tool at all. But at the same time, given everyone who's going to be performing there, they are kind of standing out from the rest of the bands for me personally.
What?
Although it might actually be just my personal perception since I'm not really that much of a Tool fan myself. But either way, Power Trip Festival is supposed to be the only show Judas Priest will play in all of 2023. A show in between their 50 Heavy Metal Years tour and their Metal Masters tour, on which, by the way, they will be taking the mighty Saxon and Uriah Heep on the road with them.
Nice.
So which setlist and production will it be? Well, I think neither of those. In the light of this being a rather one-off special weekend, I actually think that Judas Priest might prepare something one-of-a-kind and special for their fans. Especially since we all know that finally this year, after trying to do so for more than 4 decades, Judas Priest obtained the rights for their first 2 albums released on Gull Records, including their debut studio album, Rock'n'Rolla, which, let's be honest here, the band has been kind of hating on since its release for its production, and most of the songs from which have never been performed live since 1976, all the way until 2011 and their Epitaph tour, on which they kinda had to play those. By the way guys, since we just did a couple of episodes on which songs have Iron Maiden and Metallica never performed live, what do you think about doing the same episode about Judas Priest next? Because in my opinion there are quite a lot of hidden gems in the band's discography which Judas Priest sadly had never performed live. Please let us know in the comments.
I'm feeling reckless.
But either way, the whole idea that we know for a fact that Reach Music Publishing, which has acquired the rights for the first two Judas Priest albums, are actually planning a variety of projects, including something extra special for the 50th anniversary of Rock'n'Rolla, which will be celebrated next year, of which I'm not going to go into the details in this video, but let's just say that if there will be a couple of special announcements around this autumn, it would make a total sense for Judas Priest to play a couple of those forgotten tracks from their early days. But at the same time, I don't think that it will be a nostalgia retrospective concert, but rather quite the opposite. It would be a great opportunity for Judas Priest, AC/DC and all the other bands to show what they're prepared for their fans for the future and build anticipation around their upcoming tours. So yes, there will definitely be several announcements from the Iron Maiden camp regarding the US dates of their The Future Past tour. And in case of Judas Priest, it would be a great opportunity to build the hype around their upcoming new studio album. In our last interview with Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest, we spoke about how their upcoming studio album is almost ready, and that if everything goes well, it will be released sometime in 2024.
Nice.
And so if that production goes smoothly and the Judas Priest camp will be ready to release their upcoming studio record sometime around March of 2024, that means that they might push a bit harder and actually release the first single from the upcoming record sometimes around October to be able to build the enormous hype around the Firepower follow-up and possibly even perform the first single from the upcoming record live for the very first time at the Power Trip Festival. And other than that, I think there will be no surprises in the set list, and the band will perform mostly their most popular tracks, and especially the ones which gained a lot of attention in the United States. You know, like this one. And in addition, given it is a one-off event, I'm 100% sure that the legendary Glenn Tipton will do everything he possibly can to join his bandmates on stage, and just like he did sometimes during the 50 Heavy Metal Years tour, perform at least several tracks together with the band.
Give it up.
But no matter what, the most important thing is that we will finally get to see Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses and Tool on the same stage. And while, let's be honest here, not everyone will be able to afford it to witness it firsthand, I truly hope that at least the footage of all three of those nights will be available for all of the heavy metal fans around the world. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about Power Trip in general and about addition of Judas Priest on the bill? Please let us know in the comments, because the truth is that I would absolutely love to witness and cover that magnificent weekend. So to all the fast orcs, let's do a fundraising campaign for Ukraine on the site of the festival, and who knows, maybe even make it happen. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this very short and spontaneous video, guys. And by the way, if for some reason you still haven't subscribed to the Metal Pilgrim channel, and especially if you do enjoy our Defenders of the Faith and Up the Iron series, please consider doing it right now. We will prevail. Slava Ukraini!